to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What's up, Forgers? Welcome to Season 2, Episode number 84 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show, who is more awesome than getting a drop in World of Warcraft that you've been waiting for years to get. It's Kristen Ashton.
Hello, and I remember mine. It was Baron Rivendare's horse, his charger, his steed, that blue skeletal mount. I got it. What was yours?
Well, mine's not that intense. I mean, I've been searching since Legion came out for my hidden artifact appearance for the Demon Hunter tank out there, and there's this really weird, you have to update your class hall to have a specific update to it, and then you have to go into this nether realm and fight a Legion boss, and you can do it once a day, and you do it once a day, and it has a 0.5% drop rate or something crazy like that, and I've been doing it like consistently since Legion came out, right? I mean, it's like a year of doing this over and over, and today I literally shed a tear for myself because it dropped. I took screenshots, I did all this stuff, and now I have it. I can join the ranks of people that have their hidden artifact appearance.
Congratulations! That is some dedication. Because even though they say 0.05% drop, that is still not a guarantee that it will ever drop. So
That's
congrats,
right.
man. I hope you got some awesome selfies with it, too.
Selfies with my computer screen? Or you mean my character? Was I holding my phone up like with my screen with thumbs up and like doing a selfie?
Right, well, you could meta that thing, right? You're taking a selfie of yourself in front of the computer screen while your character is taking a selfie with that selfie stick.
It could be a selfie within a selfie within a selfie. I love it. It's just so cool. And believe it or not, when that happened, I said, you know something that's more awesome than this feeling I'm feeling right now? The co-host of Heroes Forge, Kristen Ashton. And there's a lot to talk about on Heroes Forge tonight. First thing, let's touch on the Western Clash. We're not going to do any spoilers because we know that this is just wrapping up on a Sunday. So no spoilers. Don't worry. You don't have to mute it if you haven't seen the VODs yet or didn't get a chance to watch. The only spoiler I'm going to say is that the games were incredible, and the audience, I mean, the casting, as always, everything was just incredible.
It was very, very high-tier production, and it's incredible to see just how much the practice they've been doing with the regular games on the weekends has really culminated in this wonderfully produced finale of sorts.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, what's really interesting, Kristen, is this link that you put in here to a Reddit article that came out that had some really cool stats for the Western Clash.
Yes, it was posted just recently, about 5 hours ago, on the Heroes of the Storm Reddit, and it goes over a lot of really, really cool statistics regarding things with the matches, the drafts, the players, the teams. And there were two things Jeff and I discussed earlier that were really, really cool. And Jeff, what was the one that you saw that really caught your attention?
This article goes so in depth. I love that people take the time to come up with stuff like this so that the community can learn from what's happening on this pro scene and see, you know, what's going on exactly out there. And so the stuff in here is just thick with information. But one that really stood out for me was the unpicked heroes throughout this entire tournament here, this Western Clash. 53 of the 69 heroes were picked, and among the unpicked heroes here are some surprises. So Artanis, Azmodan, Cho'Gall, Gazlo, Kerrigan, Murky, Nazeebo, Nova, Ragnaros, Rexar, Samoro, Valera, Zagara, and the most surprising to me, Zul'Jin.
It's very, very interesting. Now, why is Zul'Jin so surprising to you?
Oh, I see Zul'Jins all over the place. I see all of these heroes really in the Hero League that I play and also the quick match that I play. But I think Zul'Jin is definitely esports worthy in my mind. I mean, I've played with a bunch of people that are pro at Zul'Jin. Kyle Ferguson being one of them that is really, really on point with Zul'Jin. But like you said before the show started, maybe there's something that they know that we don't, or maybe they just practice a different strat and Zul'Jin doesn't fit in.
Maybe. And we know he's slow. He doesn't really have any kind of escape. So maybe those two factors are alone enough to keep him out of a pro scene.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing here. Artanis is also very interesting to me, that Artanis was among the ones not picked. And what stat did you think, Kristen, was most interesting in here?
I found it most interesting that the first pick win rate was 42%, meaning if you were second pick, you had the advantage, and not by that small of a margin either, nearly 60%.
Yeah, that's also incredible to me, that you have such an advantage just knowing what their first picks are. And we again had the amazing opportunity to play on the Team League stream this weekend, and the counter picks and stuff are such a huge part of how you play the draft. And so I'm not super surprised by that number, although it is really low.
It is a lot lower, I think, than what would be not really expected, but assumed, because you'd think 50-50, right? It'd be a lot closer to that half and half, that there are advantages to going first. And maybe it's one of those things where only a few teams really got how to play first pick to their advantage, whereas most teams refer to that second pick to really, really counter and lock out their opponents.
Yeah, so you can't reveal your strat with the first pick, and this stat proves it even more. I'm in there, and Chad is talking about how the new cheer feature has been added to the Heroes of the Storm channel, the HGC channel, and I was in there and I threw 100 bits out because I want to be included in the cheer. I want to get these prizes. But Kristen, did you see the people that were cheering? I mean, people are throwing hundreds of thousands of bits out there, cheering on their favorite teams, and it's just awesome that a portion of that cheer money goes to the actual team represented by the cheer.
Oh, it's fantastic to see the fandom coming out. And I think that's my most favorite part, is you cheer for the team you have a stake in. And that's a really, really awesome modern way to push fandom, because if there's one thing esports is only really newly getting into, it's that thing that we see with football and soccer and long established sports, is that heavy dedication to the home team, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and it's getting some pretty big fans out there with some pretty big cheers. And, you know, in between each one of the matches, they keep showing the Garrosh trailer. Garrosh is on the way, soon to be included in the Nexus. Kristen, I think you made a pretty bold statement about Garrosh before we started this show. Do you want to share it with everyone?
I do, guys. I may have a new tank. Actually, I have a new tank. Garrosh plays exactly how I hoped he would. He feels like he should. He's like a thick. He's not bruiserish. He's not doing that much damage, but he can take quite a surprising amount of damage, especially with that armor increase the lower the health goes.
Yeah, and I think I found the one thing that feels better than getting a Morales kill with a grenade, and that's getting a Garrosh kill with an over-the-wall toss.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing. But I will have to warn you listeners, if you haven't tried Garrosh yet, go into try mode and figure out how that toss works. It is a very, very interesting mechanic, and it's very smooth once you know what's going on. But until that point, sometimes you're going to toss some people, sometimes they'll be tossed the direction you want them to, other times it'll be cast, but you won't really see anything happen.
Yeah, or you'll toss a minion. It's not really controllable by a lot of aspects of it, because it's just whoever's closest to you and has the horde insignia on them that you toss them. So I totally agree. Get in the try mode and just try it out, because if anything, it's really fun to just toss people around, take the talent that allows you to toss your friends. Garrosh is incoming in just a few days. Another thing that has exploded in the Blizzard network this last week is the reveal of some of the BlizzCon Key Art. And one of the things that has been revealed is a really cool image of Jaina.
It is a beautiful drawing of Jaina, and it's really cool to see this, because Jaina hasn't really taken forefront at any of the BlizzCons that I can remember. But of course, with Key Art here, there's the hint that something is coming in the Warcraft universe heavily involving Jaina.
Yeah, and people have been kind of tipped off to this in a couple of different ways. Her storyline in Legion right now has kind of just, trickled off, and what's going on with Jaina kind of thing. Some people even think that Jaina may be somebody we may face off against, that may break off, and, we have to face off against Jaina at some point in World of Warcraft. So for me to see this Jaina image, it starts the fire for Warcraft. It starts me thinking, what could possibly be happening?
Right. And do you have any preferences as to where the story might go in regards to that?
I don't know. I think a lot of people are thinking it's going to travel in the area of the void, like, doing things regarding the void and all of that stuff. And I think maybe Jaina's going to play into that. I sort of hope that we don't face off against Jaina. I hope she doesn't turn and become bad and we have to face off against Jaina. But it's a possibility, and who knows? I'll be hooked no matter what.
Yeah, regardless. And maybe I think I would have to agree with you there, right? Because that would be the easy way out, since there have been hints maybe she's partly infected or something and she might turn into a demon. So how do you then make a stronger choice, not turning her evil, but still having her character arc mean a lot?
Yeah, I think it's a tough challenge for them, and I think it will turn out really good. It's just like Indiana Jones, if it's not a good Indiana Jones movie, I'm still gonna like it. I'm still gonna go and see it.
Yeah, the color's still there, the character's still there. It's a fun adventure regardless of what happens.
All right, enough small talk. Let's get on with what we're here to do, and let's forge.
Let's forge.
If this is your first time listening to the show, we're going to take a character that's not in Heroes of the Storm, but from one of these Blizzard universes, and we're going to build kits for them for Heroes of the Storm. Kristen builds one, I build one, and then we just talk about it for about an hour here. This is cool, like Dungeons and Dragons theory crafting of what these characters might be if they were put into the Nexus. And then when this show is over, don't forget that you can cast your vote on which one of the two builds you think was the better of the two, and you can do that on our Twitter page, which is @Forge Heroes over on Twitter. Check it out and throw us a follow for all the updates on the show as well. All right, Kristen, let's get started here with who we are forging this week on the show.
This week we are taking on Adria, the witch, the famous witch of Diablo and Diablo 3.
And another story of what's the word I'm looking for here? Another story of deception, of betrayal, a true Diablo story, if you know what I mean.
Right, it's got a dark ending. No one lives happily ever after, except maybe the Nephalem, but that's still up for debate. But as long as it's dark, it's brooding. There's a weird transformation she undergoes. It's all good. Sacrifice, that's another one.
And because Kristen won the Twitter vote again last week, she picked Adria, which I think is perfect because it is the complete opposite of who we forged last week. I mean, we had this Murloc last week that we're talking, like light-footed Murloc that happened to be a shaman who was the master of everything. And then this week, we've gone to the other end of the spectrum, and we're talking about Adria, the disciple of Diablo, who, like you said, basically explodes in a pool of blood at the end of her existence. But before we get to that, the explosion, Kristen, tell us everything that leads up to that moment.
Can do. Making her first appearance in Diablo 1, Adria, back in those days, was simply an odd witch living on the outskirts of Tristram. She was immensely helpful, though, selling books, scrolls, and potions. Though, according to Kane, she appeared almost overnight following the desecration of the cathedral. No one could have guessed what she would have in store later. Come the fall of Tyrael, Adria re-emerged. She sought to help Leah control her powers and aid the Nephalem in their quest to trap all evil souls within the Black Soulstone. Unfortunately, there would be no peace. Revealing herself to be the mother of Leah and lover of Diablo-possessed Aiden, Adria finally admitted her true purpose, the resurrection of the Lord of Terror. Though she managed to get away the first time, subsequent adventures brought her back into the path of the Nephalem once more, where the final battle ensued.
Now, what I really want to talk about here is the feeling of Adria at the end of Diablo 3, before Reaper of Souls has become a thing, right? Because Adria she comes into the story, she basically allows Diablo to possess her daughter, and then disappears from the story. You complete the game and Adria is just kind of like roaming.
She is. She absolutely disappears in 2. You don't really see her in 2 at all. And suddenly she reappears in 3. And they did this really, really cool thing of giving a reason to it. Because even in 1, the townsfolk didn't trust her. There was something going on there, but no one knew what. So it's a really, really interesting question to ponder. Was this something they wanted to throw in from the beginning? Or did they go back and see that opening they left for themselves and fit it into 3?
Yeah, and either way, I think that's really cool. And just the fact that she was in love with the person that was, basically infected is the word I'm going to use here. But like the demonically, just affected person, and basically created Leah out of this situation, who ended up being the vessel for Diablo in the end.
It's pretty dark to have a story where a mother uses her daughter as simply a vessel to bring in some evil upon the world. I mean, when it comes to, I guess, female hero stories, as far as those go, this is like an anti-mother, which would be the ultimate evil, because what is a mother if not something that gives life? So the anti-mother, one that brings death.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's really important to talk about here what she looks like, because there are a couple different ways that she looks in the game. The first way that we see her absolutely most often in the game is she's a sorceress, right? She's just a full-on, like, what you would expect to be a hooded, cloaked, she's got a staff that's got some sort of crystal thing at the top of it, and she's really powerful, and she has these sorceress powers that she uses in Sanctuary. But then at the end, Kristen, she has a transformation when she completely gives herself over to these demonic essences.
It's such a great transformation too. Like, it's clear that she was going to sacrifice herself to the greater demon powers at some point, right? And it was kind of upsetting in the original Diablo 3, just the plain game, that you didn't get to fight her. She sacrifices Leah, and you can't go after her, rightfully so, because you have to save the high heavens. But then finally in the DLC, you get a chance to fight her, and it is one of the coolest fights, if not one of the most busy fights in all of that Reaper of Souls DLC.
Yeah, and there is a moment in a cutscene where she basically surrenders to these demons and jumps into this pool of blood and turns into this, like, XXL Kerrigan sort of creature. When she comes out, she's got these huge spider arms that come up and actually lift her off of the ground. So she's walking on these arms that, I mean, it's a classic sort of Diablo feel in the game there, where she's kind of walking around on these arms that the only way I can describe it is like a Kerrigan feel.
Yeah, exactly. Very much like a Kerrigan feel, except cranked up to 11, right? And also what's really cool about this transformation is that she's a skeletal figure first when she pops out, but then the muscles and the sinews and the skin and everything starts to appear around it to recreate this monstration, a literal monstrosity, a literal rebirth, if you will.
Yeah, and Ogre22 in the chat has a really good point, saying that she is a servant of Diablo, but look at her body when she transforms. It has a very Mephisto-oriented look to it, like graphically speaking. It's kind of got this Mephisto feel, and I guess that kind of ties it all into the primevals, right? I mean, these demons are all intertwined in a way inside of what Adria loves and worships.
Totally, and maybe she got to choose the design herself. We don't know what happened in those split seconds when her mortal body died and fell into the blood pool before it was resurrected once more.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Heroes of the Storm and how she might fit into this game. And let's go ahead and start with my kit. We're going to have 2 complete kits here, and the first thing we talk about with each kit is the role classification if Adria was brought into the game. And Kristen, I think you might be surprised with my choice because I'm going with tank.
A tank? I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have expected tank, to be honest. But I mean, I'm sure you'll explain your thinking, but yeah, so why tank?
I just remember from my experiences with the Reaper of Souls DLC that it takes a long time, got a huge health pools, got some really cool silhouette to her that's a larger style, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go with tank. And this was one of the few times that I started with my role classification and then built off of that. Normally I start thinking of abilities and then go back to what role I think that sort of fits into. So I'm starting with tank with this trait. It's called Power of My Blood. So one of Adria's quotes is, "The power of my blood sings to me." So Adria is a powerful wizard who believes that the angels will never be able to accept the fact that humans can choose their own path. She would rather side with the demons, who she believes are not so rigid in their beliefs. I'm building a fully transformed Adria here, so this is after she has completely given her body and soul to the side of the burning hells. In this build, she'll be a tank with a massive health pool, more than we've seen on any hero in the Nexus right now. All enemies that do damage to Adria will take damage from her blood passively. The damage that is received will be based on the attacker's health pool. The more health, the more damage they will passively take for each attack that they land on Adria.
Oh, gross. What a tank. So kind of like a weird vampire thing you have going on here.
Yeah, so I was thinking a lot about the things we have in the Nexus right now. The Cassias that can run around and take less damage as long as they're moving. We've talked about on this show a couple of times, what if it was the opposite? What if you were attacking heroes that were moving and you would get more, you would be able to deal more damage? Or if you attacked heroes that were standing still, you do more damage. So why not throw a little twist in here and just say that anytime you attack Adria, it's a trait, so it wouldn't be a significant amount of health that would... it wouldn't be a significant amount of damage that would be done to you, but it would deal damage to you for each attack you landed on her, whether it was a basic attack or an auto attack or a heroic. Anytime you deal damage to her, it does damage to you. It doesn't feed it back to her as life, but it just does damage to you.
Yeah, which is really, really nice, because as a tank, why wouldn't you want to be rewarded for soaking a lot of damage? I mean, there's a reason on the stat screen we've got the shield with how much damage you've tanked. It's just the role of the tank. So that's really, really awesome. And I wonder too, at that point, would you then also be given some sort of assassin damage bar to kind of show that give and take?
I don't know. Maybe you would see on their health bars, maybe it would tick like a little red each time you took damage from Adria's trait. That way you could see that you were taking damage from it, the more damage you did to her. And this would also force the team to not target the tank, right? I'm always into these learning abilities, these abilities that you have to learn from. So you would take this whole time and go, don't hurt her until we can take that damage and move forward from there. So that's the trait that we built this whole kit off of. Now the mount, I'm just calling demonic levitation. So you know how Kerrigan's ult kind of lifts her up and then she's got this whole levitation thing going on? This would be the kind of feel I'm going with here. Obviously Adria is going to be a larger model in the game, so it wouldn't ride a horse or anything. It would be like an Asmodan kind of feel, and I think maybe she would have some sort of, demonic version of that.
Oh, that would be amazing. And maybe instead of, lightning and that maelstrom, it's some sort of blood thing lifting her up. Or, maybe she just floats, right? And she's got this cool looking aura around her. Anything that keeps her feet off the ground, I'm cool with. And just to verify, she's in her demon form the entire time, correct?
Yes. From the spawn point to the end of the game, she's in this huge demon form with these spider arms that are kind of walking her along. And, if you check out our website, you can see a picture of her once we post this up so you can see what she looks like. Or you can just search for Adria Diablo and you can see what her transformed self is. I think that's really important to know what she looks like to kind of put this all together. So let's start talking about some basic abilities here. This first one is called Chains of Pain. So Adria selects a target in range, and a purple spirit chain links her with this target. When chained, the target is levitated in the air and is unable to move for a short amount of time. While chained, Adria will not be able to move or cast other abilities. She also needs to draw from her own health pool to keep the chain going, and will lose health during the channeling of this ability.
Oh, geez. So, oh my goodness. So you levitate and they're unable to move. So it's a stun, but also combine. So she's sacrificing her health to keep somebody stunned, rooted.
Right. And, it's based on how long you want to stand still and have your health drained. So you can chain, and this is an animation that she does in the game, right? There's a point where Tyrael walks up to her, and this is the moment where you find out that she's betraying you, and she's going to basically empower her daughter with the power of Diablo. And Tyrael walks up to try to stop her, and she turns around and she lifts him up with this chain in the air. And he, being this archangel basically that has become human, is lifted up in the air, unable to move. That's kind of where I drew this from. So you get to hold them up in the air. They can take damage, they can do everything, but you are taking damage as long as you hold them up.
Oh, nice. And this really does tie in well to the fact that she's going to have a health pool beyond anything we've seen before. So in that case, I guess she wouldn't have mana, would she? It would be entirely based upon her health.
Right. At this point, yes, I think we can safely say that. Maybe when we see a couple of these other abilities, you might think she has mana. We can talk about it. So let's get on to the second one. The second one is called Blood Rain Oozes. So when activated, Adria will summon 3 Blood Rain Oozes to the battlefield that will fixate on the closest hero in range. These oozes will target the hero and attack them, but when they are destroyed by the enemy, they will leave a small leech pool on the ground that will drain health from enemies and return a portion of it back to Adria as health.
I like this. The flavor of it is great, because a lot of the stuff we see in those hellscapes is that really thin line balance between pleasure and pain, hurting yourself to gain some sort of weird pleasure. So here we have hurting others in order to gain pleasure. Cenobite-ish, if you will. Hellraiser, in a sense.
Yeah, and this is directly from the battle that you fight her with. It works a little differently in Diablo, where you have to run into these oozes in order for them to explode, and they're on the ground, and they don't feed health back to Adria, but they pulse, and they do ticking damage to you if you're in the pulsing circles, and you really try not to run into these blood rain oozes, which basically just look like blood blobs on the battlefield, just kind of oozing themselves around, crawling around and leaving a trail of blood and nastiness.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a giant blood bubble. And those things, I think, are 100% would be a part of her kit, because that's the one main thing from that fight, especially as you amp it up in difficulty, that just gets bonkers. I remember taking that thing to max, and they were everywhere. The ground was nothing but these pustules.
Yeah, and I think I'm sure we'll have a great minds moment, because as you're right, as I think about this, this is the huge portion of her boss fight in Reaper of Souls, are these blood rain oozes is what they're called. So can't wait to hear what you did with that specific thing as well. So moving on to the next basic ability, this one I'm calling Depths. So Adria burrows into the ground and then instantly emerges as a target location. When she reappears, she spins her huge legs and stuns all heroes in the area for a short amount of time. This burrow takes a second to cast, but her immersion location is not visible to the enemy, only to the friendly team, and the immersion is instant. So you might be thinking to yourself that this is like an Anubarak burrow, right? But you can see the direction that the burrow is going based on where the Anubarak goes into the ground, and you can see where he's headed to. This is more like you activate it. It takes a second to channel, where maybe she's like summoning the spell or power to do this. She goes into the ground and then immediately pops up in a location, spins around, and if she hits a hero when she pops up, she stuns them.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So I got it. So it's like a teleport then, except the animation makes it look like she's in and out.
Totally like a teleport, but underground.
Oh, sick. And I love the stun. You gotta love heroes that stun, because the CC, it's so telling when you lose a game because you don't have enough CC. It's always sad when that happens, right? Because you have nothing that can control the enemy team and keep them from doing stuff like this, diving your ranks and then just blowing you away with something as simple as a group stun.
Yeah. And in my league especially, there are games where we start the game and I will type out, good luck, have fun, we got this match, because CC wins games. And in my league, I have found that if we draft CC and a good amount of it and have a good coordination with this crowd control, it just decimates.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a question too. And yeah, I'm sure you get one good stun off of Uther. Everyone knows this is a target. You wipe them out. So with this one, and it's a stun all heroes, does it stun lane minions as well? So could she technically dive deep and not have to worry about that excess damage if she goes a bit too far?
Let's say that it does. Any sort of enemy that's in that area will just be briefly stunned. I think that's the same kind of stun maybe as, maybe shorter than an Uther Hammer of Justice, but still that 1 millisecond of just being stuck in that area with the potential to get multiple people in this stun.
Yeah, I love it. And so we're talking a pretty wide range, correct?
Yeah, I think a good amount of range around her. Maybe like a I don't know, like Mirrodin Stomp, or that might be too big. Maybe a little bit smaller than that, but still a pretty good range.
Certainly. So with this, then you're really going for that fantasy of that boss fight where she appears under you and she is on top of you, and if you aren't continually moving, you've already kind of failed the fight.
Oh, absolutely. And Chad has a great idea out here, saying that with the way she looks demonically, instead of a stun, you could do like a mini fear effect, and it might add to her character. Fears are so powerful in this game. You have that fear from Gul'dan. If it hits just right, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time if you get feared. So if you played with fear so that you could have smaller versions of it, maybe that would be cool. Maybe.
Ooh, and maybe you give them tiny little ranges to run. And then, of course, that would add a whole nother level to the pop out of this depths ability, because your aim, where you pop up, would affect where they run.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool idea. Let's get into some heroics here. The first one I'm calling the Church of Diablo. So Adria lets out a blood-curdling scream when this is activated that redirects all damage that is being done to all of her friendly heroes in the area for a short amount of time to her. Her trait, with this trait and a good healer, it could be a really powerful heroic that would decimate the enemy team, because anytime you deal damage to Adria, you take damage as well.
Anytime you hurt Adria, you're really just hurting yourself. Now is the time we need to talk about this. But all of this is awesome, and it really makes me wonder if she would be a perfect pairing with Ariel.
Oh, that'd be great, right? I mean, it'd be a lot. There's a lot of great healers I think would do really, really awesome things with her. I thought of Morales first off, because, you can just let her take damage and dish out damage that way, and you can just keep her topped off, especially if you took that trait that allows her healing beam to give you a shield if you're at full health. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of really cool combo wombos you can do with that, but I love the Ariel idea too, because basically she's dealing damage, so Ariel's battery is constantly charged from her taking attacks.
Oh, it would be disgusting. And then, of course, you go with that ability late game with Ariel where you increase the amount of hope she can hold. Oh, it's gross. It's gross. Oh, and since she's a tank, would she have shields built into her kit, or would that be something you'd need to talent into because her health is so high?
I would say that she wouldn't have shields built in, and that's how high her health pool is. I mean, I'm talking something that you really haven't seen before, that high of a health pool, because she has to use her health to use her chain ability. So you really have to manage her trait with her chain ability and these blood rain oozes and jumping in, popping up in the middle of a place, you know, that's bad for you to be, but you can take it because you've got a ton of health.
Oh my goodness, it would be double Stitches or double Johanna of yore. I mean, you remember when Johanna released and she felt unkillable. It was impossible to take good Johannas down. That would be wonderful.
I think we're really itching for a full-on tank in this game right now. I can tell you, I'm feeling that way too. We need another solo tank, and I think we have one incoming. Let's get on to my second heroic here. This one's called Inverted Pentagram. So I took this from the wiki about what an inverted pentagram is, because you see this a ton in Diablo. You see it on the ground when they're worshiping, you know, all of these deities or whatever. You know, they're worshiping these things, these demons, and there's these pentagrams on the ground. So this inverted pentagram is a five-pointed star, and it's inverted, so it's associated with the black witchcraft or Satanism. It symbolizes the goat's head, which represents Satan, so on and so forth. So it's just this big evil symbol, right? So Adria is going to place this inverted pentagram on the battlefield, and all friendly heroes that are in the area will be placed in a stasis. This is all friendly heroes. When the stasis is completed, they will emerge as a demonic version of their hero and will have a large attack power buff for a short amount of time. Now, when in the stasis, if a hero is attacked, they will be vulnerable to the enemy's attacks and will need to be taken out by the enemy team before the demon takes over their body.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so they're in this inverted pentagram. They're all frozen like little statues waiting for this metamorphosis. But the enemy team can still attack the statues that are transforming. Oh my goodness. And when you say vulnerable, all of them could be made vulnerable if all of them took damage while in that stasis?
So when I say vulnerable, I mean that they're vulnerable because they can't attack, move, do anything. They're in this like trance. And you've seen it in Diablo. You've seen it when like they're all standing around this pentagram and there's like a demon in the center and they're all chanting, and if you don't kill them fast enough, they turn into these like disgusting creatures that you don't want to fight. So you run in there and you gotta go crazy. So you could use this on a couple of your friendly heroes. You could drop it in the middle of a team fight. I don't know why you would, but maybe you could. Maybe right before the team fight happens, you could drop this down and you could be like around the corner, right around the shrine or something, and then all of a sudden all of the demon Vala comes in to fight you. Demon Nova comes in to fight you. I mean, the Blizzard art department would have a heyday with this, I'm sure.
Oh, you could imagine. I mean, the art for Diablo alone, I would become an artist to do, because that stuff, it's fantastically done. The monster designs, the environments, it's beautiful, beautiful. And so with this, of course, I mean, do you give them little horns? Do you make them red? What do you do to make them the demon form? Okay, and a question with this. So they're turned into the stasis, right? Not statues. They're stasis. Do they have full health now? Does it heal them all? Or are they at the health they get stasis at?
Great question. I smell a talent choice in here somewhere. I mean, I think that they come out in the health pool that they went in, but if you talent into it, maybe at 20 or 16, you can have them healed while they're in the stasis. So, I mean, also think about this aspect of it. If they're all in the pentagram here and they're all stasised and you walk in, you are not going to have enough time to take out more than one of these guys. You're not going to have time to take, I mean, 2 at the max. That's how fast I think this will happen. So you have to make a decision with your team here. Take out the Vala. Take out the Kharazim. Take out whoever is really messing us up, because when they come out of this stasis, you know, GG.
That's a great way to balance it, right? Because if you know what you're doing, everyone knows who the main target is going to be in the stasis pool. If you don't know what you're doing, everybody chooses their own targets. No one dies. Suddenly, it's a 5-man demon team.
Yeah, which would be insane. So that is my Adria build over here, going with the tank with that trait, Power of My Blood, taking damage, just dealing it to Adria. That's all you gotta do is hurt her and you get hurt in return. She could lock you down with those chains of pain. The blood rain oozes are going all around, feeding her health back as she comes up underneath you and spins with this depths ability. And then of course the inverted pentagram and also the Church of Diablo that allows her to take all of the damage for her team. She'd be a tank to be reckoned with. Now, before we get on to Kristen's build, we have some people that we need to thank, just like every week. First and foremost, we need to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/HeroesForge. You guys are absolute rock stars, as we say week after week. Thank you so much for supporting the show. If you too would like to throw us a buck or two and help support the show and keep it going on to episode 85 and beyond, head on over to patreon.com/HeroesForge and find out ways that you can do that. It's like a jogathon, Kristen. You know, like if I run 1 lap, give us 25 cents. If we run 2 laps, that's 50 cents. That's how I think of Patreon.
It is very much like that. It is. And I remember those back in, elementary school. That was the big one. I remember I think it was for a book fundraiser. And that was a lot of fun because I've been a fan of reading ever since I could put letters together.
Yeah, and if you got enough books read, or if you sold enough magazines, you got to go on a limo ride to the Pizza Hut and have lunch with the principal.
Those were some awesome times, man. Reward you for those magazine sales, the wrapping paper you got out in the middle of April.
That's right. There's somebody out there that's nodding their head right now and they're saying, yeah, I had pizza with the principal in a limousine ride. It was all you can eat. Pizza Hut. I remember that. Also, we need to thank everyone that's given us a 5-star review on iTunes. Those really help the show grow. When people search for all of the awesome Heroes of the Storm podcasts out there, they get to see ours at the top of the list because of all of those reviews. If you love the show, head over to iTunes, drop us a 5-star review with a little comment, and we will give you a shout out right here at this part of the show as soon as we get it. Also, we need to thank everyone that's in chat. As always, rock stars with their ideas and thoughts and comments. Join us live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV. Kristen, what role classification do you think fit Adria perfectly?
This one, I'm going with Assassin. It's straight up, she's going to be a damage dealer because she kicked my butt many, many, many times. The damage that boss fight outputs blew my mind. And somehow, some way, I wanted to bring that feel of chaos, utter chaos to the Nexus.
Yeah, and it is utter chaos. If you haven't played this fight, the oozes are running around. She's going crazy. I mean, you get to be really powerful in this game, Diablo, so you get to a point where you can just steamroll it and just, wipe the whole boss in like 5 seconds. But at the beginning, when you're playing this, it takes, a strat. It takes time to do this. So I think Assassin fits perfectly. So what trait goes along with that?
The trait, I'm going with something called Master Manipulator. Skilled in getting others to do her bidding through deception, Adria can choose to take up her human form or demon form at any point. Human form gives her more range and more spell damage, while demon form turns her into a melee hero with stronger basic attacks. So something a little similar to Greymane. I think heroes could use a few more transformative heroes.
Oh, hell yeah, I can. Bring them all on. I want tons of different kind of heroes that transform. And I like this idea because unlike Greymane, it's not through an ability, it's through your trait. I mean, so in respect to, you can activate it with the trait and you don't have to wait for the ability to be ready for it to happen. So with that being said, does this trait have a cooldown, or are you basically like Lucio here switching from healing to speed boost?
I think it would have a cooldown to begin with, but there is a trait ability you could take to make it virtually instantaneous, provided you meet certain requirements, right? Provided you cast abilities in a certain way.
Oh, that is such a cool idea. And I think we can't have enough transforming heroes in the Nexus for sure. Because there's a lot of them out there that we want. You know, we want to be able to play them as two different types of characters that we see and love and know from the game. So what about mounting?
Mounting, I want to see her on her wings. Now, of course, when she's human Adria, you can ride whatever mount you want. But when she's demon form Adria, which why wouldn't you be demon form all the time, she would run using her wing legs.
Too cool. Too cool. And that's similar to the feel of the Diablo 3 skin Diablo from Heroes right now, when she goes down and she's crawling like the alien creature from the film. I mean, it's so cool.
Right? It's so great that they even did that, because it's such a different silhouette from the regular Diablo. So it's amazing that they would give such a change to such a character, but at the same time, Diablo is so iconic regardless of what form he's in. It probably doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, and we found, I mean, I haven't had an issue with it. Have you?
No, not at all. And it's probably maybe the horns and the tail that give it away. But at the same time, Kyle talks about when he's main tank on Diablo, it's the main skin. But when he's a bruiser Diablo off tank, switch to the Diablo 3 skin because it's smaller and people aren't expecting the hits. Also, people are a lot less to follow you in as a main tank when it's smaller.
Wow, there's just so much I don't know about this game, and it excites me to learn about it and to learn about those really cool strats and stuff that people come up with. It's too cool, too cool. What about basic abilities for your assassin?
Okay, the first one, Blood Ball. We got to throw in those blood clots. So Blood Ball, with 3 charges, Adria casts a moving blood ball on the ground that travels in a set direction, eventually popping and leaving a pool of corrosive blood on the ground. This terrain deals damage.
I mean, this is Adria, as we talked about before, these blood oozes that just come to the battlefield. So how fast does your blood ball travel, do you think?
Oh, geez, I would imagine maybe a little faster, maybe 2 times faster than in Diablo itself, because Heroes is a bit faster paced.
Okay, cool. So it's oozing along at a pretty good pace, and it's gonna pop at the end of this. Does it pop early if it hits somebody?
Yes, I really, really like the idea that you can basically kind of line it up as a slower moving bowling ball, and if you hit a strike, it'll pop it and leave it on the ground, where someone is more likely to stand in the corrosive terrain a bit longer.
Strike! That's like a combination of baseball and bowling.
Yeah, exactly. You know, maybe it's like slow pitch softball. We also have the bowling ball going. Maybe you have a sports skin later on and you can choose what type of ball you're chucking at the enemy team.
Absolutely. I love it. So this corrosive pool that deals damage, is it an AoE like circle like in Diablo that kind of pulses damage that's done to people that are standing in it?
Yes, I do like to imagine it does that. And when it's the ball itself, it's not dealing damage, but as soon as anyone touches it or it pops, that's when the damage is dealt.
Nice. Imagine this combo with like a Leoric Entomb with the Stukov lurking arm underneath it. I mean, that's just really, really powerful stuff that you can place on the battlefield. I love it. So what's your second basic ability?
The second one is called Teleport. Using this ability, Adria can teleport to one of the corrosive pools, bursting upward out of it and dealing splash damage.
Oh, the synergy with your first one is so cool to be able to place the places you can teleport to. Oh, that's very unique and super cool. So that begs the question back to Blood Ball then. How long do these pools stick around?
Ooh, I would imagine long enough you could take advantage of teleport. What number that specifically is, I don't know. Maybe it needs to be really, really fast. I mean, that also, too, depends on how quickly Adria needs to be played, right? Because you could have the pools there for, 5 seconds, and you got to be in and going and boom, 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 laying out the next pools. Or they could be there for 20 seconds, and it's a lot more about the setup so that when you do go in, it's burst, they're dead, you've done your damage, you're going to live.
So cool. And you think you could have a talent choice in here that allows you to drop a blood pool once you teleport. So you're at point A and you teleport to point B, but when you left, you leave a blood pool. So kind of like a personal Medivh portal, right? And then you could take it back.
Oh, that's a disgustingly amazing idea. Yes, there would need to be a talent like that. And maybe talents too are how you affect the speed at which she plays is her assassin. And then that would let the player decide what kind of assassin they're going with.
Oh, too cool. Too cool. And I'm reading ahead. I'm cheating a little bit here and I see your third basic and I can see how it combos. Let's hear it. What's your third basic ability?
The third one is Deadly Spin. When activated, Adria spins quickly and violently, dealing damage in an area around her while sucking enemies toward her.
Oh, so cool. A combo of like a million different really cool abilities here where you've got the Ariel sweep with the push to the center. If you take that talent, you're bringing everybody together. Imagine if you had the right team comp to go with this and your combo is so cool. Oh, I love these like Kerrigan-esque combos here where you're throwing your blood ball out, it hits somebody, it pops so it deals damage to them in this corrosive blood. You teleport down up into where they're at, and then you are going to hit Deadly Spin.
Exactly. And maybe you get so good with the blood thing because you get 3 charges of those. You set up your tiny little battlefield, and then you teleport in, and people are forced to fight on your terms and on your turf.
And take damage from it.
Exactly. Who doesn't want an assassin who's dealing damage while doing technically nothing?
Too cool. Too cool. Oh, is that how you imagined it happening? I mean, that full on like get in and then somehow get out. Maybe you throw a blood pool in the opposite direction. You full on Sylvanas it, where as you're in there, you throw one to get out.
I didn't actually, but I really, really like that suggestion. That is a really neat way to have that escape mechanism because it's really important and I'm sure she would be a squishier assassin to have an escape ability because a lot of the time you need to get in, get a kill, and then back up while your team retakes the battlefield that you've now created.
Oh, and it plays into your trait, too. I mean, we're talking about this a lot because I'm excited about it. I mean, right before you go and you're standing in the back and you're in the humanoid form, and then as soon as you're about to go in, you trade up, you transform, go down. Oh, it's just too cool.
Awesome. Yeah, and what if too you wait to transform, you go in so you get that burst ability damage, and then you transform into the demon and just start punching people in the face with hits they never thought such a frail old lady would have.
That's right, because she is older. I mean, let's bring that up. She's older.
Yeah, and her voice in Diablo 1 was much older, so I won't lie, because I was surprised to find out she was still functioning when Aiden came back from the basement with the soul stone in his forehead. But she's a witch too, and witches have their ways.
Witches have their ways. I mean, maybe she has Rapunzel up in a tower somewhere and has Rapunzel sing to her every night. I mean, there's really, really a way that we can link these two universes together and have a musical version of Diablo by Alan Menken.
Well, as long as we find the right Flynn Rider, it's doable.
That's right. Aiden is actually Flynn Rider. Long story. We'll get into it on another episode. Let's get into some heroic abilities here. What is your first heroic ability?
The first one is Blood Rain. This is a summoned ability that calls down a rain of blood balls that hit the ground, move, and explode. It's very close quarters and will deal massive damage to any enemy that doesn't get out of its range.
Okay, so this is Rain of Destruction, but with blood balls in a smaller area?
Correct, and there are a lot more blood balls raining down. Basically like the boss battle. They're everywhere. The ground is crimson.
Now, can she use these to teleport to?
I'd say once she's done summoning the ability, yes, she can be in and out. And maybe you have talents that lower the teleport ability. So you're just jumping, teleporting, punching people. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, and hopefully you don't get CC'd. I mean, I love it when we build these characters, but they also have a counter too, because that's cool, because you'd have to play against it. I mean, you don't want to get locked down so you can't teleport. Oh, it's too cool, too cool. Second heroic, hit us with it.
All right, now this one, speaking of CC, is probably the one you'd want to take, so you're not jumping around, accidentally get caught in an Uther stun, and that's it for your amazing ult. It's over, it's done. And this one, instead, is called My Child. Adria targets an enemy hero, studying them and taking part of their life force. After a certain percentage of the enemy hero's health has been drained away, Adria is able to release a heroic abomination of that hero's and her power combined. This is a summoned unit that chooses its target based on Adria's bidding. As long as it lives, it continues to drain the life of the chosen enemy, gaining a larger health pool and strength the longer it goes. If the enemy hero dies due to this life drain, the abomination explodes into a model of Diablo and gets to continue its rampage for just a bit longer.
This is so cool. I mean, we had a lot of similar ideas, and you gotta have this whole, like, abomination, like, chaos sort of, creature that you can create with her, because that's really what she is.
Yeah, and it's what she does. She, like, talking about earlier, that anti-mother, she created something to sacrifice. She literally gave life to death.
Oh, too cool. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. So it's like this demonic being that's draining life from you, is following you around. How close is it to you?
Well, so the way I imagined it is that it wouldn't necessarily follow around the enemy hero. Adria would need to get close enough to her chosen enemy hero to kind of tag them. Once they're tagged, she can activate this heroic, and that whole life drain thing begins. And this life drain continues regardless of where that chosen enemy hero is on the map. Because, they're linked through spiritual fusion or something.
Of course, yeah, absolutely, I get it. So that is really cool. So it continues to drain life from this enemy until they die. I mean, so what's the counter here? How do you get rid of it?
You kill it straight up, like an Ultralisk, like
Okay.
Raynor's tiny little pew pew ships, which is what they're being renamed here soon.
In the next patch.
Tychus's drill.
In the next patch, they're renamed the Pew Pew ships. It's in the notes. Check it out, people. It's the fine print.
It's hard to remember what those are called, and I like pew pew ships because that's the sound they make, and it makes sense.
Raynor's Raiders, which is difficult to say. I like pew pew ships as well. So, I mean, this abomination that is going to take place if they die from this, this demon that's draining there or whatever. Is it in the form of them, or is it just it looks like Diablo?
I want the initial one to kind of look like them, but like you had the demon form of them. Something is clearly wrong, and it's clear that this is a monster on the field that's not a part of any team.
Oh, too cool. And then if you die from it, all hell breaks loose. No pun intended.
Literally.
So cool, Kristen. This build has some awesome synergy to it. If you had to sum it all up, what would you say?
Bloody brilliant.
Amen. Bloody brilliant. Now, before we can call these heroes forged, we have a few of the most awesome stuff to talk about, which is the skins and dance moves. Kristen, let's start with your specialty skin this week.
Okay, this one may be a little far back. You might have to scratch your memories if you ever watched Beast Wars, all right? Come with me on this. There is a character named Black Arachnia, and she would transform between a spider and, of course, her Predacon form. And that would be great because the Predacon form had the spider legs coming out of the back and the arms, so that could serve as the demon form. And maybe the spider form is adjusted a bit when she's Adria the human.
I'm buying what you're selling here, although I have no idea what you're talking about. You're an amazing salesperson here, because I'm thinking, that sounds so cool, even though I have no idea what that is.
So, do you know what Beast War is?
No,
I
have to be honest, I have no idea.
It was a 3D Transformers show, except the Predacons and I always forget the good guys' names, but Maximus Prime was part of them. They land on this planet where they have to scan animals instead of cars, and so they each take on an animal's form. And Optimus Prime was a gorilla, and the bad guy was a T-Rex.
I remember this now, and I kept thinking, why would you be a gorilla when you could be a dino?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Dinobots are sick. They're amazing. There was that raptor that kept switching sides who had that really crazy voice. It was good times.
Oh, I am so down for what you're talking about, and now I remember. It's all coming back. It's all coming back to me now. Let's get on to my skin here. My skin is not that cool, but it's from... Okay, so I'm thinking, have you ever seen the film Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes, and anyone who hasn't watched it out there, I recommend you watch that movie. It is a very, very fun, solid sci-fi movie.
Yeah, so it's gird your loins here. It is a Tom Cruise film who happens to be, I for some reason, I really like Tom Cruise movies. I know it's like a guilty pleasure thing, but I really do.
I love Tom Cruise movies too. He is 100% dedicated to the craft. I buy every character he plays, and he's so charismatic.
Sure, yeah, I mean, it's just something about his movies that I like. So Edge of Tomorrow has these creatures that are called mimics in it, and I thought it'd be really cool if you had Adria become one of these mimic creatures, which basically looks like a demon. I mean, it looks like a crazy-looking demon.
I am entirely behind this. Yes, please make this skin is what it comes down to.
Now, a fun fact about the movie Edge of Tomorrow. You ready for this? So... when the movie came to theaters, it was called Edge of Tomorrow. This is the first time I've ever heard of this, that when they brought it to home video, what I'm calling home video, so digital download, all that stuff, they changed the name of the movie, and now it's called Live, Die, Repeat.
Why would they do that? Are they trying to sell it to people who wanted a more sci-fi Eat, Pray, Love? Edge of Tomorrow is such a great title for the film. That's all you need to know. It fits.
Yeah, and the movie was called Edge of Tomorrow, and the subtitle was Live, Die, Repeat. But if you look for the film now, it's called Live, Die, Repeat. Fun fact for all of you. Now, I had a second skin here. This doesn't make any sense, but I'm calling it, instead of Adria, it'd be Adri-duh. And it's a high school schoolgirl that is a super fan and follower of the boy band called Bad Boys. And I don't know how we would make this work with the silhouette, but that's my idea. Adri-duh.
Okay, this works. I am behind this. So I'm behind all these skins. Right? I don't think I need to say that anymore. So Adri-duh, the name makes this happen. So she rides the unicorn mount or the heart or maybe the pink cloud, one of those. Her regular skin, she's probably a cheerleader. Maybe she's not a cheerleader, but she's definitely a preppy girl. She's got a ponytail. She's got really high fashion clothes that are pastel colored. Doesn't wear glasses, doesn't have freckles. She's probably, I don't know, she could be blonde, brunette, black hair, whatever you like. And when she transforms, maybe she's like legs made of posters and glow sticks she got at a concert when she went to go see them when they came to her town. Keychains, bumper stickers, all of the memorabilia you could collect. Her parents bought for her, and she crafted them into like ultimate fangirl mecha Adri-duh.
Yeah, and she's like got like paparazzi cameras, and like maybe like part of her silhouette is like her friends are there, and Chad is saying she's the definition of mean girls. Yeah, Adri-duh will join the Nexus with Adria.
You're so not making Bad Boys happen.
All right, let's get on to dance moves. My dance move is basically just I saw this video once. There's this like tap dancing bug video you can find on YouTube. Don't waste your time looking for it. But I thought that'd be really cool if we had a tap dancing Adria who had like tap shoes and did like some sort of, I don't know how, tap dance.
She'd be, well, all of the legs touch the ground. So I think it's reasonable to think she would put on little shoes and be able to do a tap dance routine.
The best quote from the show in 84 episodes is that it would be reasonable to think that a demon with 6 legs named Adria would put on shoes and do a tap dance.
They'd be so cute, though. They'd be like those Build-A-Bear shoes.
I mean, really, though, we really have our work cut out for us after Stukov's dance, which is my ultimate favorite thing in the game. So let's get on to your dance move, see if you can beat it. What's your dance move?
All right, this one, I'm thinking she does a kick line. So if you're in human form, it's old Adria, and she's trying to kick up her legs, but they're not going very far because she is advanced in years. But the demon Adria has so many legs that she basically forms her own chorus line that rivals even the Rockettes.
That's right. The Radio City Christmas Spectacular doesn't have nothing on Diablo's,
delightful end of year countdown.
That's right. That's it. I knew we could come up with something really solid there, and we did. So that is Adria on both sides, a tank build, a warrior build, and also an assassin build. We can say that Adria has been forged.
Hero Forged.
Oh, what a blast. And we need more Diablo characters. Hashtag always.
Oh, you can't have too many. Diablo's a tad... No, I guess he's not really underrepresented, right? Because we have a lot of Nephalem. Not so heavy on the demon front, but we do have a lot of the heroes from the series.
More demons, more demons.
Yeah, I mean, Reign of Demons is great, Asmodan. We all appreciate it, but we want to play as those demons.
Yeah, we want all the prime evils, all the secondary evils, all the, tertiary evils. We want to play even the little demons and all their little funness. I really wish that they made the Treasure Goblin a character.
Maybe one day, maybe Christmas, because we have the Treasure Goblin Christmas mount, but maybe the Treasure Goblin as a mount is a simple, we know you like him, but he has no place in the Nexus.
Final thoughts on bringing Adria into the Nexus, Kristen. Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's someone that we could see? I mean, being off of Reaper of Souls and Adria being a prominent part of that storyline, I think it's not out of the question, and we also know that that wouldn't matter anyway. But is she relevant enough to get the recognition she deserves?
Oh, now that's a good question. Is she relevant enough? I don't know if she holds enough weight, as much weight as other heroes, but I don't know if that would stop the team from developing her if they have a really, really strong build. Because her silhouette demon form, there's nothing like it anywhere else. I mean, you see the Adria silhouette and you know what demon that is. So that alone would make her a strong contender, right? And the fact that there's a very strong, at least from the two of us, there are very strong ideas as to what she should have, at least in her base kit.
Totally. Really, really well said. And I think Cassia is a really good example of a hero that doesn't have a lot of footing in the community of who she is and what she does, if anything, you know what I mean? So that is an example of how they're just pulling some of these heroes without that connection to the community. That being said, if they pull out in the future Deathwing, that's obviously really connected to what we want. But then Cassia comes, or a hero like Cassia, and it would be, something not like Deckard Cain. So they're not afraid to do either of them.
No, not at all. And it's proven to lead to some really, really awesome inventive things. Like Cassia moving all the time in order to get, a damage buff. murky, right? There's a lot of love there. Lost Vikings were kind of forgotten about because they're an older game, but they're back now, and they really have some cool places in the maps.
Yeah, and tons of heroes on the horizon. We know they're working, as we say, almost every week on 300 plus heroes. They've got this huge list of stuff, which keeps this show going week after week. Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs when you're not on HeroesForge?
In the interwebs, you can find me at Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
So, are we still working on, what was it, Duke Nukem?
Yes, Duke Nukem 3D is still going. Last time we took a look at our restaurant that we were opening, Duke Burger, and then we went to Babeland, where we got to ride the Double D Cups, check out One-Eyed Johnny's shooting range, and then save the babes of the Caribbean.
You know, I can't think of a better way to spend my time than to watch you do that. Honestly, I think that sounds so funny. Check out all of Kristen's streams. They're a blast. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show live, as I said before, every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV, because we are so honored to be part of the Amove.tv podcast and entertainment network. For more great esports and video game podcasts, head over to Amove.tv. Tons of great content over there. Also, you can find this show on any of your favorite podcasting apps, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, any of those out there. Find it, listen, tell all of your friends about it. Tell them to visit our website, which is heroesforge.club, where you can check out the 83 other builds that we've done and the 10 million more that we'll do after this one. That'll all be on the website. If you've got an idea for a hero that you'd like to see on the show, there's a ton of ways you can get that information to us. You can send us a tweet on our Twitter page, which is again at ForgeHeroes, or you can send us an email, which is contactheroesforge@gmail.com, or also on the website there is a contact tab. Once a month we do a special show called our Featured Forger, where we talk about ideas that are sent in by the community. So get on over there if you've got an idea that you want us to talk about. Thank you again to all of our patrons and supporters on patreon.com/HeroesForge, the people that have given us 5-star review on iTunes, and also the chat room, as always, being total out of this world rock stars, right, Kristen?
They ask amazing questions and they have hilariously awesome suggestions.
Remember that you can vote on these two kits on our Twitter page. The Twitter voting will be open until Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Get your vote in there because it determines which one of the two of us chooses what hero we're forging next week, so on and so forth. Final thoughts, Kristen, on Adria and adding another Diablo character. Do you think it's time?
I think it's always time. The world could always use more demons.
That's right. And Murkies and Murlocs and all this other stuff. It could use a ton of other things. And that's why we love talking about it week after week. We're going to call the show there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all in the real world.